I want to talk about the Phoenix Police Department. The Phoenix Police Department, this is an agency that I think kind of doesn't get the same microscope, the same focus that a lot of the other agencies around our country do, right? Most of the time when we think of big police departments, just because we've seen them in the movies, we think of the NYPD or we think of the LAPD. Most of the cop shows are in one of those two locations, and they've kind of got this cultural history of being big departments that handle big things, and we've seen that in our culture. We've seen that in our popular media, on movies and TV shows and things like that. Phoenix kind of gets forgotten about, which is probably to their liking, but they just don't get, in my opinion, from an outside observer, they don't get the same level of scrutiny that some of these other agencies do. And they should, and we're going to talk about why. But I want you to know, remember, Phoenix and Arizona, Maricopa County, we're I think we're the fifth biggest county in the entire country. We've got a lot of activity here, and we've got a big police force to help police our population. And so when you start looking at the numbers, I want to give a hat tip to Liz. Her name's Elle, and she actually showed me this website that exists. I want to share it with you because it's pretty indicative of a problem that exists. So the name of this website is called Mappingpoliceviolence.org. And if you navigate to the right screen, you're going to get to a screen that looks just like this. And I want to walk you through what we're actually looking at here. So on this right-hand side, this has the total volume of people who have been killed by law enforcement. And you can see that they are breaking them down by race. So we've got Black, Hispanic, it looks like Native American, Asian. We've got the Pacific Islander, white, and then unknown. And as we're going through, we can see that Phoenix Police Department's right near the top. Okay, right? Remember when I was saying that we sort of have this hierarchy? NYPD is really big. LAPD, of course, Chicago is going to be in there. Sort of where the major population epicenters are around the country. And of course, they're going to have more police activity, more crime, more killings, and more problems. And so you would expect them to be at the top. But you'll notice Phoenix is beating out some of these other places. Phoenix is we've got more killings than Chicago. We've got more killings than New York, more killings than Houston or San Antonio or Jacksonville or any of these other places. The only one that beats us or is worse than us, I wouldn't call it a win, is they've got more deaths is LA. So LAPD, the Los Angeles Police Department, which is kind of surprising, right? Because the city of Phoenix, population-wise, is not the same size as LA or NYPD. The city of Phoenix is actually much smaller. When I'm talking about the fifth biggest county, I'm talking about Maricopa County, which covers a lot of different cities. But the city of Phoenix by itself, even though our population is nowhere near the size of LA or New York, we have more killings than they do. It's pretty clear just from these numbers. You can see, look where we are. It's not even close. Chicago is not even close. It's probably 30% less just by looking at this graph here. And you can see here some of the demographics. Arizona just in general doesn't have a huge African-American population. Our Hispanic population is large. And so they are sort of receiving, the Hispanic community is receiving sort of the lion's share of the minority killings. And we've got the white population here, and of course an unknown segment here. So in terms of the relative numbers, you can see here that we have a lot less African Americans being killed, but we have a lot more total killings. And of course that's not a good thing. It's just the numbers, and of course they are not looking good, which my point is we have a problem with the Phoenix Police Department. If you take a look at this other graph here on the left, what you're going to see is these numbers are normalized for population. So what they're doing is they're taking the total number of killings and they're basically dividing them by 1 million people so that you can get the average killings per million in population. So what that's doing is normalizing it across the board so we can see who is actually doing the most killing relative to the population size. And of course, the Phoenix Police Department is right there again. So right near the top is the Phoenix Police Department. You can see that right here. We've got 11 police killings for every 1 million people. And the only two places that are basically worse than that, you can see right here, Oklahoma City and St. Louis, Metropolitan Police Department. The other ones are just further down the list. You know, we've got a pretty significant death rate from our police department here in Phoenix, and we've been seeing a lot more of that. You know, we've been seeing, last week we spoke about and spent a lot of time talking about James Garcia. If you remember, he was the gentleman who was in his car, and multiple police officers actually surrounded him, and allegedly he pulled a gun and they shot him. They killed him, basically execution style. We had some of the video that was released last week. More of these videos are trickling out, and we just have not seen them yet, but we certainly will. And when that stuff comes across our desk on our channel, we'll be sure to bring that to your attention as well. And so today we want to start with this idea. We want to talk about the Phoenix Police Department. What are they doing? Why are their numbers so sort of askew, right? You can see it from this graph. We have a lot smaller population than LA, but almost the same amount of deaths. We've got a lot smaller population, but our killings basically per capita are a lot higher than some of these other jurisdictions. So why is that? What's going on? You know, on this channel, I've had a lot of thoughts about that over the many shows that we've done. And I think by and large, this is a pretty big cultural problem that we're seeing that exist in the different levels of our government, the different levels of our police department. And, you know, what can we do about that?